The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Perish the thought, Kev, I should ever be slightly flippant in the intro, but last week I probably should underline the fact that the London gig, the first anniversary show that we're recording at the House of Photography the 30th of this month, is a long do, not a short just meet us for a beer and packet of peanuts do, yeah?
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
I want to underline that. But no, we can't lay on lots and lots of booze. For starters, I don't think the House of Photography, which I will call the Hop from now on, would allow it. And two, you're still in a store. Big, granted, but there are members of the public. I'm not sure they'd want you wandering around drunk. And three, Kev and I are not getting married, so a three-course sit-down with party poppers is not quite what we were planning. But, what we are planning is this. We're going to be in the store from 3 now, aren't we?
We are. 3 o'clock. We'll be there. We need to set up and do all of that kind of stuff. We will have a few bits and pieces. I've got some. We've got JP coming with his simpler straps to throw away.
You can't ask him for them before the show starts, though. No. That's not fair.
Absolutely. He will. We'll have him on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah. He'll be like one of the merch people, won't he? Throwing his straps out.
Merch.
Who wants a strap from JP? That sounds terrible, though, doesn't it?
I also have a couple of T-shirts and some hats from Alien Skin Exposure.
That's nice.
Who are no longer called Alien Skin Exposure. They are now called Exposure.
So are they just palming you off with our old merch?
They actually sent it for the X-Weddings Festival.
Oh, did they? Right, okay.
It turned up too late. So thanks to good old HMRC and postage taxes. So I have a few of those to throw away, and we will have a selection of little drinks and perhaps some nibbles.
But 3 o'clock, though, we're there. The show starts at 6:15, slightly earlier now.
Okay.
Only by a quarter of an hour, but slightly earlier. The store's closing later than normal. It's going to be closing at 8.
Yeah, they're keeping it open for us,
especially for us.
Yeah.
So if you turn up from sometime from 3, then you can sit down and have a chat with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we thought we'd open it up a little bit more and spend more time with you.
Yes.
And then, Kev, where are we going?
Then the good ship Gemma.
Oh, bless Gemma.
Bless Gemma. She's great. She saw me. She eavesdropped on the conversation you and I were having at like 11 o'clock the other night.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, oh, shit. We're panicking, and you know what we're going to do.
Well, we just couldn't find a pub large enough that wanted to accept the amount of people that might descend upon them after 8 o'clock.
It was the fact that we've
bad planning.
We've had,
obviously.
Well, I don't think it's bad planning. It's fortuitous that we've had so many good, gracious people who want to come along. So Gemma, in bless her lovely heart, has gone ahead and thought, right, leave that to me. And
she was straight in there.
She was in there. Right. Yeah. And so we have reserved a space at the O'Neill's on Wardour Street, which is pretty much opposite the gates of Chinatown.
Yeah.
So
it's a big old place.
It's a huge place. Yeah. So we've got space there for around about 100 people reserved. I mean, it's a big pub anyway. One thing I will say though, if you are coming along, is you need to be in by 9 p.m.
Oh yeah. And if you're youthful of looks, then bring ID.
Yeah.
It won't be a problem to me. Obviously, Kev's a lot younger than me.
So by 9 o'clock you need to be in, and that's only because they charge a door fee otherwise. Because although we've just reserved space, we haven't reserved access or anything like that. So come along. We will be there, O'Neill's on Wardour Street from 8 o'clock ish, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
The FujiCast.
So, well, there we are. All that stuff said, let's start this week's rather different show. Different because we thought we'd take you in our suitcases to Switzerland, where we were filming and photographing a wedding together. Our usual recording day was out, so because we were due to be out of the country. So this week you have kind of chaps on tour, as it were. But rest assured, we have an interview this week with a Swiss roll to it. That fell flat.
Was that a joke? That was absolutely terrible. I thought you were going to do a jingle of some kind.
And we have some of your questions.
Rubbish.
We have some of your questions because we took them with us at the start of this sort of 5-day extravaganza that we had. It all starts out on a cold Wednesday morning just after 6 o'clock in Malmesbury. Why do you always go to the airport 100 hours too early, by the way?
What? Better than going late? Gotta be there. I like to get there so I can look at all the other people panicking as well.
Morning, Kev.
This is all my clothes anyway.
Yeah. Is that alright? Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Do you want to put your bag in or? Have you got a passport?
I have. I will double check.
Have you got your money? I had the most rotten night's sleep. I never sleep before flying because I'm always thinking I've got to get up early.
No, me too.
So I'm going out the Malmesbury normal direction.
Yeah, back towards the M4.
You used to be a bit nervous about flying, didn't you? But you're totally used to it. You're off that now, aren't you? You don't, because once upon a time you used to be like the A team. You had to somehow tranquilise him to get him on an aircraft.
Valium, half a bottle of wine, beer.
No.
What?
No, you shouldn't tell people all the things you were taking when you were on an airliner.
Sorry. Half a bottle of wine.
Bad for your health.
Yes.
Scotch.
Yeah, plenty of that.
But you don't do any of that. He was like the picture of sobriety as he got on the aeroplane.
Yeah, unlike somebody else who was near me.
Morning.
Hello.
END, isn't it? Here we go.
We're going to fly to today. My colleague Captain Phil Clark and Katie, Charlotte, Alex and Demi are in the cabin to look after you.
Didn't Kev the captains go to a special school where they learn to speak sort of captainese, because they always sound like really relaxed, don't they? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this flight to... They have a particular language, don't they?
They are very, very
I wonder do you think they're the same with their lovemaking? Darling, wheels down. Cabin crew to... What's the phrases they use?
I don't know, but whatever it is, I've stopped thinking about it in the right context. But I have friends who are pilots, and they say that they are trained to have a calm voice. They may not sound calm on the cockpit, but everything that they say over the PA.
So in the cockpit, all could be going mental.
Yeah. But
My God!
yeah.
I've never seen that light before.
Yeah. Bing. Hello, this is your captain speaking.
Oh, we saw the famous three bings, didn't we?
Well, we didn't see them. We heard them.
Well, we heard them, rather.
We did. Yeah, we heard the three bings.
Kev told me on takeoff that if there's a third bing, we're in trouble. And blow me if we didn't hear a third bing.
We did, but not at takeoff, because then I would have been like, that would have been it. I'd have grabbed the...
Would you have held my hand?
No, I would have grabbed your beers and thrown them down my throat. But we did. We got a bing, bing, bing. And didn't I tell you, ages ago when we talked about it, I said if there's three bings in succession, that means something out of the ordinary has happened in the cabin. Yeah. And sure enough, a man had collapsed.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he was good. He was fine in the end.
Yeah, he was.
But the air conditioner.
The what? The air flight attendant, you mean?
Yeah, the flight attendant, the air conditioner, the flight attendant pressed the button.
Yeah, bing, bing, bing.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. And we went into a steep dive.
No, we didn't. It was fine. I was just waiting for I just wanted them to say...
Is there a doctor on
board?
Would you have put your hand up?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a go.
I've done CPR 3 times in my life.
Oh, God, none of them have worked, though, have they?
Not very successfully.
Oh.
Yeah. So I wouldn't have been the right candidate. Okay. But yeah, 3 bings. Very exciting in a terrifying way.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Geneva, where the local time is approaching 1 o'clock, 1 hour ahead of the UK.
Look at that, Kev. As if by magic, we've travelled 540 miles in a mere matter of seconds. At the speed of podcast, they call that. A little further into our show, I'll be talking to Emma Wilson today from Story of Your Day. She's a former TV news anchor and video reporter who now lives in Switzerland with her husband and young family. Told you it was a proper Swiss edition. She's set up a wedding and commercial film company and also trains future filmmakers. You'll hear from Emma in a while, but let's, as always, get to some of your questions that you've been emailing to click@fujicast.co.uk. Keep them coming. We love to hear from you.
The FujiCast.
Right, we have a couple of questions about which are very appropriate to squeeze in between us taking you on our Swiss tour. From Henry Braithwaite. Hi, Kev. Hi, Neil. One of my highlights of the week starts early, you two. If that isn't a reason to get a question out, I don't know what is. Or read out, he means, I think. I have a question about travelling light. What's the minimum gear you travel with when you photograph overseas, chaps? My main concern is having any gear separated on an aeroplane. And we talked about this, didn't we, as we were getting on. I just don't fancy my luck with a bag in the hold. No. So tips for travelling light.
So what did you take?
Well, I was filming with an H1 and XT3. I took 3 lenses, 10-24.
Did you take a spare camera?
23. No, I didn't. Well, I knew you were there. No, if I was... so I took the lenses 10-24, 23, and the 56.
And that all came in the plane with us.
All in the plane. I had 4 sound packs with me and a couple of those little Sony TX 650s, which are brilliant, so small. And that was about it, really.
I mean, I never put anything in the hold that I know that I couldn't shoot the wedding with.
Would you put a spare camera in the hold?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I put a spare camera in the hold. I didn't this time because I also only took 2 cameras because I thought you were there.
Lean on me. Would have been absolutely up that creek if one of our cameras would have. Have your camera? No. Did you bring a spare?
Actually, I did have my X100F as well in my pocket.
Okay.
So I bought a brand new big coat, especially to hide things in. So yeah, I took a X Pro 2. I took an XT3 and the X100F, and I had I had my 56-23, and I had my reserve lenses were my 50f2, 23f2.
Oh, I took 50 as well.
Yeah. And I also...
We should have talked beforehand.
I also took the 90f2 because I wasn't sure how big the room would be. Yeah, I took 4 shots with it out of the whole 4 days, so it wasn't really worth taking. But yeah, all of that goes in my little flight bag, along with the spare pair of underwear. Yeah. I also put a shirt and some trousers. Oh no, actually, I travelled in black trousers, just in case my wedding trousers didn't make it through. I put a spare shirt in there, toothbrush, all that kind of stuff.
Should toothbrush go in your camera bag then? Have you got that with you?
Yeah, no, I took it just in case my main bag didn't turn up.
Okay, so you had a spare toothbrush?
No, I only had one, but it was with us all the time on the plane.
I don't want to
really close to you.
I don't want to get caught on the toothbrush thing.
Yeah, so that was it. Yeah, nice and light. You don't want to be putting things in the hold that you can't shoot the wedding with.
There we go, Henry. Oh, and a good tip, actually. Take yourself along one of those pouches that you can put your cards in that doesn't...
RF.
The RF one that will not get obliterated by X-ray, even though these days they say that makes no difference to stuff like that.
I am fairly sure you'll be absolutely fine. However, RF pouches is an extra security level, isn't it? RF pouch for memory cards. Actually, after the fact.
I've heard that security is fairly good at airports. If you can remember to do this, if you say, look, I'm a photographer and I've got all my cards here, would you mind taking them around so they will take them around the X-ray, apparently?
No. Everything has to go through the X-ray.
Well, I've heard people say that they'll take them around. Is that?
No, that cannot possibly be true because you could put things in it.
What, in a small SD card?
Well, that bloke put stuff in his shoe.
This is an SD card.
Yeah, but you could. Yeah, look, there's 256 gigabytes in some of those SD cards. You can get all kinds of stuff on there. I've got my entire music collection on one.
Oh, there we go. Craig Tyler from Bray, just south of Dublin. Hi, Kevin, Neil. I'm a part-time photographer, part-time accountant, longing for it to be the former full-time, but happy with what I have at the moment. I've been building my camera collection. Right now, I'm a Canon EOS R shooter because I love the colours. But I'm travelling more, and with a photo trip to Moscow and North Korea, whoa, that sounds...
Oh, I'd love to go to Korea.
Both those places I'd enjoy.
Yeah.
Planned for later this year. I know that the lenses I have will be a real bind, so I'm thinking of treating myself to a modest Fujifilm setup for the trip. I've had an XT1 for a good few years, so I'm not exactly new to the brand. Suggestions, please, for that perfect setup for this trip. I favour 20... So he'll be talking full frame now. I favour 24mm, 85mm and 135 on the Canons.
Well, I mean... Go take the XT1 if it works. There's no reason not to take the XT1.
What about low light? It's not going to be so good in low light, though, is it?
Well, it depends what kind of photography is going to be happening. I definitely won't be in any kind of nightclubs in North Korea, that's for sure, late at night. Russia, yeah, it depends what time of the year it is, I guess, and if it's winter or summer and all that stuff. But yeah, okay, so XT1 is the first sensor, kind of tranche of sensors. So yes, it's not as good in low light, but I was shooting at 6400 with that. If you're looking for something that's not going to break the budget so much, maybe look at something like an XE3, which is a fab little camera. Doesn't have a flip screen, or it's like a little bit between an X Pro and an X100. Interchangeable lens, or you could go for an XT30 if you fancy if you like the T range. Lenses
you can just very easily
23, 50,
56.
Well, again, budget and size. So if you don't want the big lenses and you're happy with f2 lenses, I'd go 23 f2, 50 f2.
Kev can lend you his 90mm because you didn't use it.
Yeah, 90 is your 135.
That solved your 135.
That's a big old heavy lens though. So in comparison,
yeah,
that's what I would do. And good luck. And I would love to see the pictures from North Korea.
Enjoy that trip.
Yeah, and Russia.
Kev, here's another appropriate question, a photo travel question from Luke Herard in Uddingston, which is just outside Glasgow. Chaps, good show. Promise to listen when we've built a new wall between our two fine countries and stored all the scotch away in the same place so Neil can't get to it. I've seen his collection on the YouTube channel. This is one about working abroad for clients. I thought we'd sort of save some of these back. You see, these working abroad ones, it's all nicely planned, you know. This is one about working abroad for clients, in particular destination work, which you've been talking a bit about of late. What do you do when selling a package to clients? Do you present it all as one big price, which may seem intimidating, or cut it into sections to list things like flight, accommodation, things like car hire and mileage and stuff like that?
No, I do. I basically say this is the price for the work, plus you need to pay for my expenses, which is...
Did you break those down?
I just say at a minimum it's flights, accommodation the night before the wedding, the night of the wedding, depending on where it is.
What about your beer rider?
No, I don't expect them to pay for that. And sustenance and that's normally fine. The thing is, if it's European destination weddings these days, the flights are really cheap. Car hire is really cheap. Yeah. So they cover all of that. But in terms of the logistics of it, when they book the wedding, I say to them, look, 6 months before or whatever, I will organise the flights, organise car hire. I'll send you the prices before I press book, just so you're happy with it, and then I just add that onto the end of the invoice. I don't necessarily expect them to book the flights and stuff. Accommodation wise, more often or not, especially if it's in a French chateau, they will just stick me in the attic, something like the basement or something. They normally find a little cupboard for me to go somewhere.
If I were going with you, I'd of course get a lovely view of the whole valley.
I'm not even talking about it. I'm never going anywhere with you again. You're a professional
room
vision
stealer.
Thief.
Room vision thief.
My room was haunted and had a terrible view, although the bed was very comfortable.
Yeah. My room, meanwhile, looked onto Interlaken. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Kev loved our car we hired, by the way, when it comes to car hire. We were both supposed to drive it, but I wasn't allowed to. Actually, do you know, I said, look, we went to one of the nights where we had to cover part of the event in Zurich. So we toddled off to Zurich, parked the car up, and I said, Kev, I'll drive back, no worries at all. He said to me, oh no, it's gone dark now. I think you're best to drive the car when it's gone light. I thought, I'm not 17. I've driven in the dark.
I know, it was lovely, that car.
I know.
Little Renault Clio hybrid.
I wasn't allowed anyway. I don't think I sat in the driver's seat. I wasn't allowed to.
No, that was my seat. We did
a lot of miles that week.
We did like 700, I think nearly 800 kilometres on one tank of fuel.
Yeah, I know.
Brilliant.
I didn't think it was fair you made me push it through the villages.
Oh my God, there's no clutch. Freaky.
You know how to drive an automatic, though.
Oh, I do, but it's been a long time, so I leave it in park at the minute, don't I?
Yeah, start it up. There we go. Car behind us.
Do you know how we're getting out?
No idea.
Was there didn't he give us a code on that little piece of paper?
Oh God, did he?
For the door, I think.
No, I think it just recognises the number plate.
Right, reverse.
Looking at a camera, this car can practically drive itself.
Right, are we 100% sure it's going to go backwards?
Hopefully.
Oh, no,
we got damage.
Just come off now, though.
We got damage collision waiver insurance. No, back into R. There we go.
How do I know that's R though?
Well, because you got a picture showing you.
Oh, next to P. It's next to P.
Oh, I see.
So you find out.
Stop! Oh, no, joking. What do you make of this place, Kev? Later on, this is where it all starts to happen. They're having the pre-match bash. It's an American phrase, isn't it? The
wedding rehearsal.
That's what I meant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, what an amazing place, isn't it? Incredible. You can't see it, of course, but what we can see is mountains, snow, massive lake, Interlaken, and
Don't the Olympics happen here?
Winter Olympics were here once, yeah, in the 80s, I think, or 90s.
Oh, a long time ago. Yeah, when I still had hair.
Yeah, I was probably a little tiny baby.
Thank you. Right, go on. We're going to do some questions each. Questions on tour. You can go first.
Okay, this one's from James Thorpe, and he says, "Dear Kevin and Withnail."
Wow.
Withnail? Have you ever seen that film, Withnail and I?
Oh, he's taking the mickey.
That's brilliant. I'm going to call you Withnail from now on. And at the end, it says, "Just kidding, Neil." Too late. Wish I hadn't read that bit out now. Happy 2020 to you both, and many thanks for a great podcast. I'm primarily a film shooter, but when I do shoot digital, it's with a Fuji system. My question, I've got the chance to pick up an old Fuji X100, also called the FinePix. I've heard that some people find the way the old Bayer sensor treats colour more pleasing than the current X-Trans sensors. Any opinion? And would a prosumer, I love that word, prosumer, like myself, even be able to tell the difference? Cheers, James.
Because that was the X100. What wasn't a Fujifilm X100, was it? It was the Fujifilm FinePix, or was it Fujifilm FinePix X100? Is that right?
Yeah, it was a Fujifilm FinePix X100, and the FinePix was what they used to call all of their kind of point and shoot. So in the old days, when you used to go to an airport and you'd see all of the point and shoot cameras during the war, it was Fujifilm, had that all sorted out, didn't they? It was loads of FinePix cameras, and you used to often get a FinePix camera free with a computer and all that kind of stuff. I did anyway. So it was the original X100 was called the FinePix X100, and I actually think that you had one, didn't you? Original X100?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. I hated the thing. I mean, I nearly threw it out the window of the cockpit, and in the first time I used it, there was so much backlight coming in, and this thing would not focus for love nor money in tricky situations.
Yeah. It was. It certainly had its. It was ambitious to kind of get that to market, which they did, and the focusing system was pretty hit and miss right at the beginning. But then they did some firmware updates, and it was all right. I still have mine. I still shoot with it occasionally. And yeah, I think the original Bayer sensor, the colours certainly. I don't know whether it's necessarily right or wrong to say they were better, but some people prefer it over the current ones for sure.
It's a bit like the Canons. I mean, I always really liked the Canon 5D colours, which were creamy and probably not half as good as the eventual 5D4, but it just felt like the colours and the camera was. I just really liked it, and it was old technology, and you shifted past ISO 800, and it was like a snowstorm.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say with nail. So yes, I mean, get the X100. I wouldn't be paying a lot of money for it unless actually it was in pristine condition in the original box, although I don't have I get rid of all my boxes, but the original box, the X100, was very, very nice. It was like Apple packaging, and beautiful. And if it's good condition and it's in that packaging, it's probably worth a pretty penny, I would have thought.
Well, and then be a bit Antiques Roadshow on us. What would you offer? What would you say it's worth in an original box, well looked after, hardly used?
I don't know. You just throw me right on the spot there. $1,000.
Really? Sorry, really?
Yes.
That's my new Withnail voice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Yeah, I would say more than around that. I would say that's what I would think, right, for a collector, because it'll be a collector's item.
Okay, one from Phil Payne, friend of the show, Phil Payne. You know, I've had this email sitting in the must-do-soon box for quite some time, so hopefully, Phil, you've not given up on us and you will actually hear it. It's quite it's kind of a question, a statement, a question, all within one. So, loving the podcast, chaps, and listening intently as editing up some lovely landscapes and street portraits, both for a book and hopefully an exhibition. Most of my time is spent these days walking and looking at the world and people, either their dogs, their partners, or just sat and stood looking interesting. That sounds like you're an art installation, Phil. It sure beats my ears of running around covering news across the globe and now living in Wales. Yeah, it's probably worth saying that Phil worked for. I know we got somebody about to invade us, haven't we? Yes, okay. We're in the depths of this hotel, and we thought we'd find a quiet corner, but clearly it's not as quiet as we thought.
Haunted.
Yeah. Yeah, ooh. It does look like that kind of place. Have you seen the corridors? This is The Shining.
It is terrifying. It is very terrifying. My wardrobe moves by itself in the night.
That's because I'm in it. I've found a way into the back of your wardrobe. Thinking, let's just shift this a bit.
Oh, no. What a terrible thought. I've got a great story about university. It's way too long. We'll have to do it when we're back in the UK.
All right. About what? About the wardrobe?
About a wardrobe.
All right. Okay.
All right. Called Andrew.
Wardrobe and a boy called Andrew. Stand by. Anyway, back to Phil. My past life in news. Oh yes, he was a war. He was an engineer, wasn't he? Not a reporter. He was an engineer. Worked for ABC, the American ABC.
He was the microphone thief.
Well, funnily enough, in this mail it does say the microphone that I've managed to buy from him that was used in a lot of war reporting. He didn't lift. He
ruining the story.
He legally purchased, i.e. stuffed it in his bag. My past life in news meant getting out of bed at short notice and flying into trouble spots, just like you would in Slough, often alongside some of your previous interviewees from Beirut to Baghdad, with many stops in between, sometimes not coming home for a month or more. I miss much of my children's lives growing up. When I see your work, gents, it makes me sad and glad. Oh, you shouldn't feel like that. Sad for the way I missed my family whilst living in modern history, but glad that you both, this is not even about him, glad that you both, along with your families, are brave enough to work at what you do with passion, skill and joy. Do you ever feel lonely in this business?
Yeah, I think so. Especially like we're away together now. This 4 or 5 days in the Swiss Alps.
It's such a romantic view and setting, and I'm here with Kev.
Yeah.
And a monk called Mickey. Why are you laughing at that? Oh yeah, there's no context. I've just brought up this monk called Mickey.
I actually sneezed at the same time. That was.
Mickey, by the way, is relevant because he is going to end today's podcast. We have a lovely story for you, and he might actually be listening. Because he did say to me when I chatted to him that he was a bit of a podcast fan.
Mickey is my new favourite person.
Mickey.
Oh, I called him Michael.
Silent C.
Oh, those silent letters. What's the point? What is the point? No wonder I get things wrong. Yeah, he's my new favourite person. I'd quite like to take him home.
Would you?
Yeah, he's a really nice guy.
Well, he was in your wardrobe too.
No.
That's me and Mickey.
This is getting beyond weird.
Mickey, not Mickey.
Mickey.
Anyway,
Mickey.
Do you ever feel lonely in this business?
Yes, especially when I'm travelling. When I'm travelling alone. But unfortunately, I'm with you at the moment. So yeah, it can be. And also, during the week when you're at home in the studio and editing and everything, and actually at weddings in the UK, it is a lonely thing, especially if you're doing the documentary style and you're not really interacting and stuff. Yeah, it can be lonely.
You can spend a whole day without anybody talking to you. Seriously, when you take up the documentary mantle in weddings, you will spend a day not talking to people.
Yeah.
And them not talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's good and bad in its own different ways. Yeah. So yeah, it can be lonely for sure. But I know Phil's now in Wales. He's moved to Wales. Oh, he's from Wales, and he's moved back to Wales from Slough. And he's knocking out some beautiful landscapes.
He wasn't in Slough, he was in Luton.
Oh, that's much better.
Right, go on, your question.
Okay, I've got one from Magnus Simonson.
Sorry, what was that?
Magnus Simonson. No,
spell that.
Simmonsen. Magnus Simonson. Okay. Which camera system is well suited for photojournalism? Do you know of any photojournalists using Fuji?
We don't count. Do you know of any real photographers, real photojournalists? I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, he's on about and it's a very fair point actually.
Wedding photojournalists are real photojournalists. I think we're being a little bit. I'm being purposefully. Tactless. I would say.
There is a friend of mine in France called Eric Bouvet. Oh, yeah. ERICBOUVET. Silent T on the end.
Pointless.
He's a Fujifilm ex-photographer and a photojournalist, and a very good one as well. He's been right around the globe, documenting battles and everything else in between. And there's loads of them. There's loads. Actually, if you go to, best place to start looking, if you want people, as an easy access, is go to the Fujifilm ex-photographer's website and, start exploring the other countries. There's I don't know, there's something like 400, 500 photographers on there now. And they're all down in categories as well. So you'll see news and photojournalism, sports, course, weddings, everything else like that. And to answer the first part of the question, which camera system is well suited for photojournalism? Well, I mean, I only use Fujifilm, so, that's what I'm going to say, obviously. But to kind of within that ecosystem, I would say the smaller ones, X100, X Pro, XT range, are probably more well suited than GFX, XH for photojournalism stills. A lot of people these days obviously are doing running and gunning filming as well, in which case the XH might be the way forward. But any camera system, I guess the smaller the better. And Canon, Nikon, they're all bringing smaller mirrorless cameras out nowadays as well. So I'm sure there's photojournalists using all sorts.
Have you ever heard of a photojournalist in Australia called Gary Ramage?
Don't think so.
Ramo is known as. I think in Australia you have to have an O on the end of your name. Ramo, Kevo, Nilo.
One of our what do we call the people who slam the doors on us in the nativity?
Rude people. Neighbours.
Innkeepers.
Innkeepers.
That's it, innkeepers. One of them was Wayno.
Oh, yeah. Wayno, yeah. Well, Ramo has taken some of the most... I mean, he still works in some tricky areas in the world, including having shot this photo documentary piece about a high security prison in Australia, where he got he was taking pictures from quite some distance. I don't think that was with a Fujifilm camera, but he got a lot of trouble with prisoners for taking their pictures when they were in pens on the air. Yeah, and sort of.
Was he allowed to take the pictures?
No. I mean, this was editorial, commission. But no, the reason I'm saying that's the kind of work he gets involved in. But Ramo was using an X Pro 2 for an awful lot of his work when he was abroad, up in helicopters and stuff like that. I don't think he uses it exclusively, but it does prove that those kind of photojournalists think the world of their Fujifilm gear.
I honestly don't think the brand is relevant for photojournalists. No photojournalist, like a person who's going into battlefields and places like that, is going to have any preference probably on brand. It's all to do with ability and what they can get, and whether it's small, light, heavy, whatever they need, they'll go for it. And whichever creed of camera that is, doesn't really matter, does it?
What a hotel that place was, by the way. It was really nice, wasn't it? And so I'm going to mention it again, but I did have the lovely view. It was a beautiful view. Although the corridor outside was a little bit shining, wasn't it?
It was.
There were a couple of kids. We've got to be careful because we can't talk too much about the wedding because it's a private affair.
Correct.
But there were two children there that were dressed absolutely identically. And I thought if you put them in that corridor with a little trike, it would have been a very frightening experience.
It was. It was an amazing place, it has to be said.
God, yeah.
And the food and everything there was amazing. The view. It was just... The only thing missing was 2 foot of snow.
Yeah,
there was snow on the mountains.
Yeah.
Although I think they, judging by what the client said, that they weren't expecting snow at that time of the year anyway. So all good. Very, very beautiful wedding.
It was indeed. Yes, I'll agree. Right, to this week's interview. It's appropriate that it has a Swiss feel. I'd like to introduce you to Emma Wilson, a former news anchor and video journalist in British television, now based in Switzerland. She is an ambassador for Women Who Photo and Film, which, quote, shines a light on some incredible female photographers and filmmakers making their mark on what are considered by many to be male-dominated industries. Emma's work is frankly as stunning as the scenery your eyes are rewarded with as you travel through a most remarkable country. Storyofyourday.co.uk is not just worth a view, but a long, lingering visit where you settle back with a glass of your favourite poison and take in the work of a filmmaker who's truly learned what the movie button was intended for on a DSLR or mirrorless camera. Tell me about your work with the BBC, first of all, so we get a rounded picture of you, because you were there a fair time, weren't you?
I was at the BBC, Reuters, ITV, Sky News for 20 years. I started off as a reporter working with a big team behind me, and then I started doing more and more presenting, reading the news. And then I left the BBC, and in order to get back to the BBC, I had to take on a job as a video journalist, which in my mind was something I really didn't want to do because I'd never picked up a camera to film before in my life, and I really didn't think I'd be very good at it.
So how many years ago are we talking about there?
That would have been about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And so I was doing some training with another video journalist who told me I had to become one with my camera. I won't give you my answer of exactly what I said to him, but I was doing it as a means to an end. I was doing it because I wanted to read the news on Midlands Today. And within 3 months, I was reading the news on Midlands Today. However, when they asked me to give back my camera, which was a video camera at the time, I said no, because I found that I loved being a video journalist. I loved being the person that wrote the news, stood in front of the camera and presented the news, filmed everything, edited everything. I didn't have to thank not one other person when I put a news piece together. I'm a bit of a control freak. So I loved that and I really embraced it. And then I became a BBC mentor and a video journalist trainer.
So it's interesting because most people would say the anchor is the pinnacle, isn't it?
I mean, the thing is, that's what I think I wanted when I was quite young and naive. But, and still I faced a lot of this when I had to board, which in the BBC terms is when you interview people.
I remember that phrase, yeah.
So I used to be part of that board process to find video journalists. And I used to try my hardest to work out which of those potential candidates were just doing it as a means to an end. Did they really want to be video journalists, or did they just want to be able to take a camera person out and never work for themselves, never film themselves, always have a camera person with them, or always be a news anchor? I was really lucky because I got to do both. But I can see the frustration there that there were a lot of people that they desperately just wanted to sit in the studio and do that. But I loved doing everything.
The role of being a reporter has changed. There's been a democratization of the entire medium so that people now can work in sound and vision, and they're their own producers, their own writers. I know the unions hated it, but having the ability to be a multifaceted journalist now is really important, isn't it?
Let's go right back to when I first did my degree at Goldsmiths. And back then I could choose TV or radio. I chose journalism as one of my options, but I chose radio. And that's because right back then, I was able to do everything as a radio journalist. I was able to do the interviews, to do the presenting, to do the editing, to do the recording. I guess like a video journalist on radio. So I chose that area because if I'd have chosen TV, I would have chosen either to edit, to film, to produce, to write, to present. And I couldn't have done all of those things. So I chose radio. I mean, this is also another reason why I'm so passionate about audio. But yes, nowadays, to be honest with you, everyone can be a news reporter. Everybody is a news reporter because we're filming, or everybody's filming all the time. Everybody generates, it's called, user-generated content. And even when I was still at the BBC 5 years ago, we were relying on it quite a lot. And now I'm sure that they use it all the time because everyone can be a journalist and everyone could be a news reporter.
Now, we're going to make the jump to Switzerland now. I'm not sure how succinct you can be about this because there's a bit of a story behind it. Now you're in Switzerland, and this week is a Swiss edition. So I want to know the reason why you ended up going from there to there, from A to B.
Okay, so I left the BBC to focus on Story of Your Day because I realised I couldn't do both.
And this is the wedding company. That's important to point out. Yeah.
And so my dad didn't speak to me for 3 months because I left the BBC, and I built up Story of Your Day, and I was doing a couple of destination weddings, but mostly UK weddings. I was based in Yorkshire. And my husband works for Switzerland Travel Centre. And if you cut my husband in half, he has the Swiss flag. He is not Swiss, but he thinks he's Swiss. And he kept nagging at me, let's go to Switzerland, let's go to Switzerland. So 3 years ago, in the November, I had 23 weddings to edit. That makes my teeth itch to even think that I had that many weddings to edit. And I thought, okay, let's go for 6 months. I'll ski and edit. Well, I didn't get much skiing in. We threw our children into the local village school where there was no English spoken. And within about 3 months, none of us had any intention of ever coming home. So we've remained in Switzerland. My boys speak German, Swiss German and French. And Story of Your Day is, I have a great assistant back in the UK. She has built up my SEO. I do now weddings all over the world. But I also have another company called The Story Creatives. And that's my corporate videography arm. And I have thanks initially to my husband's introductions, now I have some amazing contracts. I'm the official videographer for Manneken GGM, which is a big cable car system here. I've just been invited to become the official videographer for CWA. They make cable cars, so I'm going to be filming all over the world. So this is very interesting, both because I'm English, but also because I'm an English camera person in Switzerland. I've got a press cut pass this weekend because it's the downhill, it's the Lauberhorn race, the World Cup downhill race. And it made me chuckle because on my press pass, it says cameraman.
I hope you were quick to remind them.
No, well, there's no option for camera woman or camera person. This is Switzerland.
Oh, right. Okay. So the camera operative, I think it's called here now.
Yeah, but there wasn't that.
So what's the split, weddings and commercial work?
About 30% weddings, 60% corporate, and then I also do Evolve videography training, and solo sessions. So I do one-to-one videography training, and I have Evolve videography training. I used to run workshops for women only here in Switzerland, but last November I had my first workshop for couples, which went really, really well.
You're a trainer, aren't you, with Canon and Sennheiser families, aren't you? They're very much involved with you.
So I was a beta tester for Instamic, the microphones, and they've made me an ambassador. Sennheiser audio systems, I'm an ambassador for. Canon, I'm an educator. I didn't go down the ambassador route for a couple of reasons. One, because Canon UK couldn't officially use me because I'm in Switzerland, and here in Switzerland for Canon Swiss, I'd need to speak German, which I don't.
Okay.
But yes, I'm a Canon educator, and every year at the photography show, I do a lot of talks and presentations for Canon. So yes, and I'm also an ambassador now, yes, for Women Who Photo and Film.
You're known as one of Europe's leading female wedding videographers. Does that bring a certain advantage in and of itself, do you think?
Being a woman in this industry does give me some advantages on the wedding day, miking people up, for instance. But I also think we do see things differently. We see weddings differently. But I would argue with you on that too, because, I've been working on this V-Bahn project here in Switzerland, and I've been looking after the right-hand side of this lift system. And on the left-hand side, Jungfraubahn, is a Swiss guy called Christoph. And I don't think he offers anything. You might think, it's very technical. We're hanging out of helicopters and filming a lift system. And surely it's it would be better for a male videographer. But there isn't any difference.
I don't see why it would make any difference, really.
Yeah, but in the wedding industry, well, I think some male videographers say, well, you have something different. You're a bit more romantic as a woman, not me personally, and you have a softer outlook, and so your films are maybe less technical and more romantic, and for me, more storytelling.
Well, your films are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
They really are. And we will, of course, link to this for those listening, because you have to see this. I want to actually bring up something that we've talked a lot about, or we seem to have talked a lot about of late. Maybe it's because it's a particular passion of mine. Do you think photographers are missing a trick by not thinking moving image?
I think this is really important. When a client comes to me and says, I'm thinking of having a video and no photographer, I say, whoa, don't do that. I think photography is far more important for anyone to have on their wedding day than videography. And I've never come from a photographer's background, but I just feel that. I guess I'm quite traditional in that way. So I think videography adds to photography. And, it's a bit cliche, but if a photo speaks 1,000 words, then imagine what a film can do. But the problem is I can watch a music montage of amazing photographers and their images set to music and find it much more powerful and much more beautiful than a badly made wedding film. Mm. And so I don't think photographers are missing a trick, and it's not that easy just to fall into. If you're going to do it well, if you're going to do something completely different with photography, and that's for me 50-50 is audio. Really, really crucial that photographers need to get their heads around the audio side of things, because after all, photographers, they know how to frame a shot. They should know, how to get beautiful images. This was the thing that I originally thought I would struggle with when I first started filming. And this is the thing that evolves every year for me. Every year I get better and better and better at that. So a photographer that moves into videography has that as a background. But if they're going to nail videography, they need to get into the audio side of things, because without audio, you can't really tell a story.
It's interesting because the audio thing is what I hear. People that make really cracking films, such as yourself, they say that's the bit to crack first, which I think is alien for a lot of photographers to conceptualize, really.
So when I was 18, way back when, one of the things I used to listen to in the evenings was The Man in Black, and it was a radio program. And I used to drive home from being out with my friends without having a drink, and I used to listen to this Man in Black. And they were ghost stories, and I was so terrified of getting out of my car when I got back home, because our imagination is so strong and so powerful. So I believe that we need audio. And I listen to the Archers every night. My son is 12 and he loves the Archers. And we argue about what the different characters look like, because our imagination sees different things and different people. And I think that's really, really powerful and really, really interesting. And so that's why I think audio is so important. When it's done well in a wedding film. That's why I use a lot of ambient audio, as well as sound clips. And then the bit that takes the longest for me is using the ambient audio and the sound clips in order to tell a story and to commit to that story within that video.
I noticed that about your films, that you think about ambience, and I think a lot of videographers miss that point, don't they?
It's what I train in my training sessions. It's the art of storytelling through cinematic videography, but it is very heavily weighted towards audio. And I'm doing several talks at the photography show in March, and they are about audio, how to capture audio, how to use audio, and how important it is, because that's where people to miss it. And I really love it when people come back to me and they've taken a film that they've already made and they go back and they rework it. I love it. I absolutely love that.
So I'm glad you mentioned that then. So you're on stage at the photography show in the UK in March?
Every day.
Brilliant. Do you know which stage? Do you know where?
It's the 14th to the 17th of March at the NEC, and I'm on every day. There's one day I'm talking about audio in particular, and on 2 mornings I am, which is I think Sunday and Monday morning, I'm on the live stage and I'm doing a ceremony setup. So because I solo shoot mostly and I use 3 cameras for my ceremony and speeches. So the audience will be the congregation, and I will have 30 minutes to set up my cameras for ceremony, explaining as I go what I'm doing with my cameras and what I'm doing with my audio devices. And then on the Tuesday afternoon, I'm in the Pro Lounge, the Masterclass Pro Video Lounge, talking about audio.
So you're going to be talking about, this is how I lock off, this is the aperture I use, all the basic tech stuff, and also the logistics of where to stick the sound kit as well.
Exactly. Okay. But I don't get my knickers in a twist about lots of technical things. I never have done. I don't like for people to start glazing over. I keep it very basic. I have often had many videographers talk to me and I actually have no idea what they are talking about. When people start talking about bit rates, I literally fall asleep. So I don't get that highbrow. Yes, I'll be talking about aperture. I'll be talking about positioning, and all that side of things. And I'll be talking about my lens, the choice of lenses, because I'm also not a prime snob. I'm very much an advocate of using zooms, especially during ceremony and speeches, and I have very good reason for that. But I also appreciate that everyone has their own choices of how they work, and you must work in the best way that works for you.
Well, I can promise you one thing, Emma. If you look out across that audience, I'm going to be in the front with my little notepad. Look for the look for the boarding chap with a grey beard, and that'll be me. My thanks again to Emma Wilson, and yes, to repeat, we will put all the details on www.fujicast.co.uk in the show notes. You're listening to our Swiss trip, a Swiss special, if you like, where myself and Kev went to Switzerland to photograph and video a gorgeous wedding in a gorgeous country. You know what I thought was funny, Kev? And a sign of looking far too much at sat-nav instead of studying maps. Day after the wedding, we still had no idea where we were, did we?
No. Very little idea where we were. Well, we did the one trip we took. We decided to not go on the motorways, didn't we? So that was really nice because we ended up. We had a nice little lunch in this place. We had no idea where it was,
and they didn't speak English.
Didn't speak English. Which of course wouldn't expect them to.
I know. Yeah.
We crossed the line from German Swiss to French Swiss.
Yeah, there is a line, isn't there? An actual line on the road.
Yeah, is where lots of people running around going around in circles because they don't quite know what to do with themselves.
And the language changes.
Yeah. But no, I was fab. I love Switzerland, I have to say. Very expensive place, but then I suppose beautiful. They have a really good lifestyle. It's good. Very good. Well done. I enjoyed it.
Ditto, Kev. Ditto. Here's two blokes then, stood in front of a cascading waterfall, wondering where the devil they are and pondering about destination weddings. These are the Alps, aren't they?
I don't know, actually.
Do we know where we are?
I know Switzerland does have the Swiss Alps, of course, but I don't know if this is technically the Alps. Might be. We're kind of between Lucerne and Geneva.
About 3 hours away from Geneva. Look, the little roll clouds are just coming down the mountains.
Yeah, you can almost reach out and touch them. They look like they're coming right towards us, don't they? It's like Day of the Triffids, or whatever that's called.
Stop Day of the Triffids. So, what's the hardest thing about destination weddings?
Sleeping in a haunted hotel.
Did you have the rattle of the pipes?
Oh, my word. And also, my wardrobe, which is about 150 years old, I've only used half the hangers. And during the night, the free hangers, just kept clattering against each other.
No.
Yeah.
You're joking.
Yeah, and of course, it was blisteringly hot.
So you had the window open onto the haunted mountainside behind you?
I didn't. I refused to open the window. No, I refused to open the window in case a bear got in.
Bear? Honestly.
It's all right for you with your utopian view of heaven.
Well, when I open my window, I get what you can hear in the background, which is the waterfall. I can just crack it open slightly, so there's enough.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice for you. When I open the window, I get the emergency stairs on a brick wall.
No, but seriously, what is the hardest thing about destination?
Well,
if it is indeed hard, because I mean, a lot of people would say, well, look, they can't see it. I'm going to describe it. There's a mountain range in front of us, a beautiful lake. It's a
snow-capped.
Snow-capped, mountains in front of us. Beautiful lake. It's kind of that turquoisey colour that you see usually only on picture postcards and think that it's been adjusted in Photoshop, but it's for real. There's the reflection of the mountains as the sun's coming up now, just now projecting that into the water as well. Behind us we've got a waterfall, beautiful old Swiss. This is a kind of chateau kind of feel to it. So anybody listening would think there's nothing to ever not like or find difficult about a destination wedding, but
yeah. However, you have to say that this is pretty different and special to most destination weddings, the ones I've shot anyway. Generally, destination weddings for me is a Ryanair flight to Toulouse, a chateau, which is always lovely. The wedding's always lovely, and then a dash back to Ryanair's Class 3 aeroplanes and back to Bristol and back home in time to put the kids to bed kind of thing. But this is different because we've been here for 4 or 5 days, or we'll have been when we go home. And yeah, I mean, it has a feel. It does have a much different feel to it in terms of working. You're right. You couldn't be in a more beautiful place, could you?
No, this is gorgeous.
Yeah. And you got me with you.
How romantic. Pull those bed sheets over, would you? We've been saving these up for this week, so thank you to a bunch of you very fine listeners who sent in destination photography questions. Radomira Alferov from Miskolc in Hungary. I think I've got that right. Greetings. I've been listening since November and enjoy the programme you make. I've been recently travelling more to take more pictures since that is the experience I need for the photo work I want to make. You were talking about working more in different countries and I wonder what makes you like to travel. I'm guessing variety. Keep up the show. Yeah, it's variety, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, of course, you all want to see different places and stuff. However, when you're just going to work, it's not necessarily jolly. I've been lucky enough in my photography career to get to some amazing places. I've been to Japan a few times, been to America many times, Argentina, all over Europe.
Do you think you'd have ever imagined when you were working at Microsoft that one day you would have exhibitions showing your work in Japan?
No.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
However, it is challenging. I remember being I was in Argentina for 10 days and bloody hell, I missed the kids and the family and Gemma. That was, I nearly came back at one point.
Oh.
And Gemma was on the phone to me. It cost me hundreds
What
of
was she
pounds.
saying?
Yeah, she said, "Don't come back until I've got all my boyfriends out of the house."
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum is still here.
So that's the challenging part. But sometimes I cast an envious eye to the young uns. That not that I would ever
Join the war.
Not that I would ever not want to be with my family, but that those of you that are still young and fresh and fancy footloose free and whatever they call it. Yeah, explore, go, don't be afraid, do it.
Do you know the greatest thing about travelling is you see stuff you're not quite expecting. Do you remember the bar singing? Okay, so we're sat there having a beer, having a chat. It was nice social.
Having a beer, were we?
Just a little bit. and then people sort of there was a tuning fork. I thought, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And they just started. Can you imagine this happening in a bar in Slough? And then, Kev, we met that, she was forthright girl.
Yes.
Who, when we told her we were from Merthyr Tydfil, got really angry.
No, come on, Tydfil. You're...
No, not
You're trying to pull my leg, don't you? You're trying to pull my leg.
No, it's a real place, Merthyr Tydfil.
It's a real place.
It's a real place.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Where we always take the mickey out of
Hey,
it.
cheers. The
Cheers.
new one, sorry.
Well, new one. You have to do it with the new
Hallelujah.
one. Hallelujah.
Prost.
Prost. What does that mean? Cheers.
Prost, cheers.
Prost, cheers.
Prost. Hallelujah. Good to meet you guys. Good to see you.
And you?
How do I say? Good to see you.
She was all right in the end, though, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was lovely.
Yeah.
She was lovely. She bought us some...
I gave her your address anyway.
She brought us a couple of shots, which she then didn't drink herself.
Yeah, that was worrying because we had two very different shots to hers.
Yeah.
And I thought, hang on.
Yeah.
What's going on? Right, back to some of your questions. This time as we headed back in the car to Geneva Airport, 3-hour drive and one stop at Burger King.
Do you know what? I don't know if you've checked your bank account yet. But that Burger King, I had what did I have? Like the vegan curry burger or something, which was actually really nice.
Yeah. No, that was in the McDonald's, wasn't it?
Oh, that was right.
Yeah, because we were eating local, weren't we? Yeah.
We went proper Swiss. So on the way back, I had the vegan, the veggie burger with fries and stuff.
Yeah.
And do you know what my bank account? I looked at that Burger King.
Don't tell me how much.
£14.50.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 40 quid.
No, £14.50. Yeah.
Well, Kev does a lot of destination weddings, so I was keen to know one thing. Is that the normal length of a destination wedding for you, in terms of the day length?
Yeah, not far off. I mean, normally you kind of say into the night, into the dancing, or this is how I do it anyway, for destinations. Yeah, I'll start at 10, bridal prep, and go through to, first dance is normally at 9 or something, and then I'll hang around for a few hours, because normally you've got nothing else to do if you're staying at the same place. But saying that was extremely long. I would normally be finishing at like 11 or something maybe. But what time did we finish?
It was quarter past 2:30, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When we eventually said that's it. And I think the wedding party, it kind of broke up not long after we left it.
No, well, we were booked till 12. And
you did an extra 2.5 hours almost.
Yeah, we did an extra 2.5 hours, and actually the wedding planner, bless her, who was amazing, she came up to me at midnight and said, "You guys are finished now. You can go." But we had nowhere to go apart from up to the haunted rooms, so we stayed downstairs with the safe people, where people were.
It wasn't really haunted. Although, did you go in this morning into the loo downstairs? And it was freezing in there, wasn't it? And there was a kind of strange noise just above in the roof cavity of something moving around up there.
Yeah, I think it was moaning myrtle. It was moaning myrtle.
Watching you having a pee.
I think that hotel, I would put that on the scale for highly likely to have haunted, spooky things going on. Definitely, yeah. If you believe in that kind of thing.
You do believe?
A fly coming out.
Well, yeah. Now, for anybody that's watched the Dracula series on the BBC, there's the recent one, really, really frightening one. The part of the way you know Count Dracula is around is there's a fly, and I went back up to the room to change to put some batteries on charge, and I went into the room and I could hear bzz, 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 bzz. I thought, no, surely not. We're 1,000 feet up, or however many feet we are up. It's so cold, middle of January. There's not going to be a fly.
Well, in fairness, I did put a plate of maggots under your bed because after the room episode.
And there was a ladybird on my pillow.
No, I do not believe that. A ladybird.
No, honestly. Anyway, questions. This seems an appropriate one because we're in Switzerland. From Paul Delia. You've talked a little on the show of late about destination work and travelling, but I wonder if you've considered your moral compass too when it comes to whether you need to travel to work. Kev is now showing strong signs of environmental responsibility by going vegan. And Neil, you're always going on about Greta. So here's my question. It doesn't matter if you're a wedding photographer, a commercial photographer, or even enthusiast, where you make trips to well-known photo locations like India or Iceland. Where do you start to draw the line with what some might say are maybe unnecessary trips?
Yeah, I think that's a really fair question and a valid question. But my answer would be, in terms of environmental stuff, I will always do stuff to help the environment where it's in my control. You know, if there was a tunnel from, or I don't know, a cycle from our house to Switzerland, then yeah, of course, but there's not, and so this is the only route, this is the only way of doing it. So yeah, I mean, we've got a hybrid car. See?
Which beeps at you? Look, it's agreeing.
Yeah, exactly. That was his happy beep. Beep, beep. Look at me, I'm on the podcast. Woo! I think it's valid. And, one of the things that I don't particularly like, it sits a little bit uncomfortable with me, is the albums I use are Jorgensen albums, which are beautiful, and that's why I continue to use them. But they do come from Australia, and there is a footprint involved with that. And yes, there are British album companies, and yes, some of them are very good. But you at the end of the day, you also have to think about business and everything else, and feeding the kids vegan food. But at the same point, I'm not necessarily. We keep going on about this vegan thing, and I prefer to say plant-based diet. Because the brutal fact is, as we drive along this road, we are, we're killing road flies and things like that, and veganism, actually, in living a pure vegan life, is nigh on impossible. I would have thought. Just walking down the street, you're likely to kill critters.
Do you know, I meant to ask our newfound friend Michi, the monk from the wedding. I wanted to ask him. No, it's serious. You're grinning at me, but I wanted to ask him that question about because I'd had the fly in my room by that stage, about this idea of killing animals, because they don't believe in that, do they? The Buddhist faith. Am I right in thinking they wouldn't harm another animal? Living creature?
Well, I don't really know that much about Buddhism, but yeah, I think they believe that they will be reincarnated, and so they try not to to step on things and kill animals and stuff, because that might be them one day, which seems fairly logical to me.
And of course, video conferencing is the way ahead for a lot of people, and they don't make long journeys. Would we ever stop doing things like the FujiCast in Brighton and London and play? We've got a London one coming up shortly. That's all because we've got people coming across, so we're indirectly now contributing to the carbon footprint, because 2 or 3 of the people coming are coming from countries, in fact one quite a way away.
We've got Mexico. I think JP's coming with some simpler straps. We've got Iceland. We've got a couple from Europe.
Middle East,
yeah. We've got somebody coming from Saudi Arabia, of all places. Yeah.
Well, pressure's on, isn't it, for that show? Geraldine Tyler in Portland, Oregon. Just started listening to the FujiCast and love the exchanges you two have. I've only recently started making some money from photography, and I guess I'm in that group called Mummies with Cameras, which I loathe.
MWAX.
What?
MWAX, they call them on the internet. MWAX.
That's such a derogatory phrase.
Terrible, absolutely terrible.
I take baby portraits in the main, as I am a new mum with 18-month-old twins. I know the subject quite well, being a stay-at-home mum and devoting all my time to them both. I'm a member of some Facebook forums, but have been totally put off the idea of asking questions by some sneery members. And I have to say, sadly, they are men who question why I should need to make money when I could just enjoy taking pictures. I can't believe there are men that would actually poke their head above the parapet, even if they did believe that. Anyway, so here's a controversial question. Chaps, I'd be interested to hear what any other professional photographers have to say about this. Are my kind, in inverted commas, still looked down upon, and is photography still considered a male-dominated area? Because it sure as heck feels like it sometimes. You two excluded, I hope.
I'm a male. I'm definitely a male. Yeah.
No, you know what she means.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with her. I mean, the fact is, it is male or dominated. Rightly or wrongly, that's the fact. Most of the people I know in the industry are men or male. The whole sneery Facebook stuff, and it rankles with me as well. It's a terrible thing, and you know what? Just rise above it. Be yourself. Make money. Bloody hell, be proud of making money. And I also hate that the kind of weekend warrior terminology that gets thrown around as well, because who are we and who are they to say that you should run your life, live your life in any particular fashion? Do what's right for you, as long as it's within the ethical boundaries of the business itself. And yeah, just ignore them. They're just, those guys, because in this case they are guys, are just miserable, middle-aged, jealous, old, boring. Yeah, that's what I say. Good luck to you. Yeah.
All right. Hi, Kevin and Neil, in brackets, alphabetical order only. As a significantly older boy, just like to say how refreshing it is to hear from two. The car's joining in again. From two who genuinely seem. That's you speeding each time, isn't it?
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to.
If you hear boop boop, that's Kev going over the speed.
Take that police car.
Oh. Okay. As a significantly older boy, yada yada yada, just like to say how refreshing it is to hear from two genuinely who seem to care about our profession. Thanks for the useful and entertaining interludes. We're interludes. What's here? No, this is just a diversion.
Is it? Oh, hang on.
You need to go through the lake.
Sorry, I'm concentrating on the orange lines now. What was the question?
We haven't got to it yet.
Oh.
I have a two-parter, which I'd like your opinion or advice on. When or if you can fit it in, please. Well, this is a perfect time because we are trapped in a car together. And we're just about to go through a 2-kilometre tunnel, so I'm not sure I'll be able to read. No, it's got illumination in here. Here we go. It's orange, black, orange, black, orange, black, orange, black. I'll try and get your question out.
Orange is the new black, apparently.
I'm using... I can't see anything now. Can I turn the light on? No, you don't want that, do you? I'm using...
This is brilliant.
I can only get 2 words out at a time. I'm using X Pro 2s, along recently with an X100F. I tend to carry a camera over the shoulder, lens inwards, where I find it great for quickly raising and shooting from where it's more discreet than hanging from your neck. The issue is that since moving to the lighter cameras from full-frame DSLRs, they frequently slip from my shoulder. I've tried attaching non-slip pads to the supplied Fuji straps, but they, I guess it means the pads, don't particularly stay attached for any great length of time. In your opinion, are either of your favoured Peak design or simpler straps or significantly higher slip resistance than the Fuji originals? I haven't been able to try either, and the others are too wide. And that's the first part, so let's deal with that one first. So camera straps. Yeah, I've got simpler on... did you see that red kite flying straight towards us?
Yeah.
Woo, it's got a death wish. Anyway, I've got a simpler strap, and I use Peak Design. I love Peak. I love both actually. Peak Design. I quite like the way Peak Designs actually connect to your camera system. They seem to have a nice rigid system of connecting to your camera.
What do you use?
Well, I actually use the simpler stuff. I never use the Fujifilm camera straps. The ones that come with the GFX are really nice, but the ones that come with the X Pros and X-T3s I think are not very good. But if you really want a non-slip strap, that's not easy to say, is it? A non-slip strap that really truly does not slip but is not particularly attractive to look at, then you want to get an up strap. UPSTRAP.
Oh, yeah.
I have some of those, and
they're American, aren't they?
It's American. You'd have to, if you're not. Was he in America?
He is in Swindon, Wiltshire, just down the road from you.
Oh, right. Well, you can just come around my house and have a look at my up straps if you want. Quite happy. Yeah, up strap. You have to get them imported, but it's well worth it because they are the top of the strap, the bit that's not slippy, is made of Kevlar. So it's also bulletproof.
Whoa.
But yeah, up strap. UPSTRAP.
Microphones is part 2. I'd like to start delving into video with my X Pro 2 to start with, even though I appreciate that there are better cameras for it. I've recently inherited 2 new and unopened Zoom mics. One is an F1 SP, and that's the shotgun mic version. The other is an F1 LP. That comes with the lavalier mic, or lapel mic, if you like. What's the difference? Can I use either directly with the X Pro 2? Is one better than the other? Well, they're 2 very different kinds of microphone, really, Paul. One you use to point at people because it's a shotgun mic. And the other one, of course, you're using a lapel mic to be close to the actual sound source. So if you're recording an interview, I would probably use the lapel in this kind of situation, because the shotgun mic, the F1 shotgun mic, is an okay shotgun mic, but it's not fantastic. It's not like buying a Zoom NTG3 or something. So that's what I would suggest. But in terms of the X Pro 2, is that a 3.5mm jack?
X Pro 2 is 2.5, I think. I might be wrong. X Pro 3 is definitely 3.5. Yeah. I'm fairly sure X Pro 2 is 2.5, so you'd need a little adapter.
And the XT2 and the XT3 are both 3.5, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to need an adapter if you want to put it straight through
They're cheap. They're pennies.
Yeah. But the only thing I was going to say is that that was a funny sound off the. If you just run something over. The only thing I would say is that the preamps in the X Pro 2, or any cameras really, DSLRs, mirrorless, are not usually the best preamps in the world. So I'd actually pop your sound into a separate audio source and then mix it afterwards, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I never record. Mind you, saying that, the onboard audio is on the XT3.
Oh yeah,
is pretty good. As it goes,
for background and reference, yeah. But I mean, not in a shotgun situation. No,
I wouldn't have thought so. So I when I'm doing it, I go to it. I have no idea what it's called. It's a little red box with knobs on. It's got a you can put the 3-pin what they call XLR jacks into it and stuff. Yeah. I don't know what it's called. It's a Tascam. That's it, Tascam.
Oh, the one that bolts underneath the camera.
Yeah. The Tascam something or other. It's a little red box with knobs and buttons and stuff like that.
And that's a good preamp, is it?
Yeah, seems to be. I think so. Put your little SD card in there. It takes about 8 AA batteries, which last no time at all for some reason. But yeah, it seems pretty good. I think it was about £350. I'm sure that there's newer versions and smaller and better and ones that aren't red.
Is it time to stop for a coffee?
Yeah, shall we? Where to buy, do you think?
Well, not right here because we're on a motorway. But
okay. There's a caravan ahead of us.
No,
he's got a black bull. He's from southern Spain.
What?
The little black bull. See the black bull?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a black bull? Yeah, it is, isn't it?
There's a Swiss number plate there.
Oh
There
yeah.
goes your theory. Right. Yeah. Let's go find a McDonald's. Something very Swiss.
Get in trouble again.
And so it's time to return home, and we hope you've enjoyed being our travel companions and squeezing into our camera bags. Most of our shows are studio bound, so it's fantastic to get out and about, and instead of taking a week off, actually take you with us. Next part of the show is a little noisy for reasons that will become obvious, but you have to stick around for Mickey, who you've heard mentioned a couple of times, who's our new favourite man in the world.
Yeah, I love Mickey.
Mickey the monk.
I wanted to bring him home.
Sure, he might have agreed to that.
Hey, Mickey,
he was lovely,
you're
wasn't
so
he?
pretty.
No, you're so fine. Hey, Mickey, you're. No.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I
yeah.
doubt he knows that song.
No, I wouldn't have
but
thought so.
he's a friend of mine on WhatsApp. Oh. And he's just in there as Mickey Monk. Anyways, the monk, the best man, the groom's best friend. And we're going to end with a Tibetan prayer. Yes, you heard it. Never done on this show before. This show has been nothing if not furnished with a little audio texture this week. First up, though, some more of your questions recorded in Geneva Airport in one of the surprise bars with our very expensive beer awaiting a flight back.
So how long have we got before we board?
It's 7:10 now.
Flight is at
9:05.
Right, so first of all, apologies. We don't know what this is going to sound like because we're in an airport bar and there's a little bit of a hum in the background. That's the cheese, I think, isn't it?
The raclette.
That's a horrible smell. What is it?
The raclette is like a big half, it's not Edam, but it's a big half round cheese, and then you melt it over like a candle or something, and then you have bread and meats and stuff, and you dip it into the molten cheese.
Sounds nice, but it smells rank.
Really nice. Not good for me.
Oh, okay. Not good for your gout. Actually, no, it doesn't. Also, you can't have it now, can you? Because of your newfound vegan status. Sam actually just texted me to say, how's veganuary going? Because I did say to her before we headed out on this trip, I said, you know what, I'm going to make every effort to be like, #BeLikeKev and eat vegan. First day we go to McDonald's, I'm having whatever it was, Big Tasty. You're going for the vegan burger. And I thought, that's all right, the rest of the time I can be good. And then every morning the bacon came out, smelled really nice. I don't know how you do it, to be honest. I really don't.
I'll just look at you.
That's enough reason, isn't it? So I'm going to whip through some Facebook stuff. Carl Hare, for the first time in 3.5 years, I've spent the evening in the bathroom developing some of my own black and white film. God, that was hard work getting the film on the reels for my Patterson tanks. I don't remember it being that difficult. Did you ever do any black and white work?
What, film?
A film, yeah.
No.
So you never had that experience of trying to get the film onto a roll and deving it? And does it interest you at all?
Not particularly, no? I have to say. I like
You're
the
not interested
idea...
in becoming one of the so-called purists?
No.
That can only do photography because they did film?
No, I like the idea of shooting film for it from a cathartic point of view. I have no real intention of developing it, and of course Carl works for Fujifilm. He's one of the product specialists.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so he's a brilliant photographer as well.
Nice to see Carl in the Facebook group.
Yeah, he's a nice chap too.
I thought we'd whiz through these Facebook messages because the Facebook group is really good at the moment. It's really grown.
You used to shoot film?
Yeah, I did. I shot film when I first. Yeah. And I did my own prints. Yeah. Peter Kasbergen, moderator. I was listening to the Christmas FujiCast, and the discussion about Kevin Neal's 3 wise photographers caught my attention. The names mentioned are obviously fantastic photographers, but it made me wonder about something I thought a lot over the last few years, which is how much of the great iconic photos of the past were due to the photographer or due to the environment and or circumstance. Now, the picture he's talking about here is the famous Situation Room picture where Obama was watching the operation where Osama bin Laden was killed, yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay. Look, if that guy hadn't taken a picture in a Situation Room, the picture would not have been nearly so successful or even as interesting. You know, a boardroom picture of a few people sort of pondering over a spreadsheet.
It's the content.
It's context and content, isn't it?
Well, it's the content of the moment in the context of history rather than the art of the photograph in that case. Yeah. Basically, is it position, luck, timing, all of that makes a picture. And I mean, for example, if you just pick up, let's just say Fan Ho from Asia and dump him in Swindon.
Yeah. Wet Wednesday afternoon
in Swindon. You know, most people at the bingo. Is he going to find anyone with a photograph with all that lovely, beautiful shade and shadow and tall buildings?
Yeah.
He's not. That doesn't mean to say he wouldn't be able to produce amazing work, but it to a certain extent it does depend on where he is at the time, and that's, I suppose that's part of what makes a great photographer, isn't it? You know, he puts himself in front of opportunity. And then that's part of the battle, isn't it? You know, we do it in the point of weddings. you know, people who are not wedding photographers might look at our pictures and go, "Oh my God, they're amazing wedding pictures. I wish whatever I could take pictures like that." You know, but they're not going to weddings, or you know, they don't have kids to do the family photos of. You know, you've got to be in front of it to take it.
Luke Bailey wrote in, "Hi everybody, so in the Facebook group again, look this one up. It was a discussion about photo books. Now, we did decide actually, as we were driving along arguing about the colour of cows, which you thought was purple.
Well, where did the milker come from then?
Well, there didn't seem there was a disturbing lack of milker in this airport.
None in this airport.
And it's all like doubled in price, and it's all fancy make now. What's happened to the milker? Anyway, he says, "Hi everybody, I've come to the decision that my lack of photo books is disturbing. I need some in my life. As I don't have any, what would be people's top recommendations?" Go on, give Luke an idea of one he could go for. Because you have a huge collection of street photo books.
I've got loads, but it's the thing about street photography is very subjective, isn't it? And you go for fan-ho if you like the grainy black and white stuff, or you know, you can. I do a lot of Kickstarter. I back a lot of books on Kickstarter. You know, the John Bulmer stuff, the North, all of that stuff was on Kickstarter.
And isn't there the new Sean Tucker book out? That's collection Tucker, 3 is out.
That should be waiting for me when I get home. In fact, I ordered that. It's been sent, so yes, that should be there. Sean Tucker. But what we will do though is we will each of us will in alternative weeks bring a book to the studio, and we'll have a little chat about it, and then we'll put the notes on our FujiCast website, of course.
Adam Beale, I was going to send this question to Kev and Neil, but I thought I'd open it to the group. So he put this in the Facebook group. He was in a coffee shop in Bath warming up, and it was about street photography, so it's apposite when you think about the last thing we talked about. Do you find street photography a bit intimidating at first? I've only ever really done travel street when others, all the missus has been with me, trying to get into street more, and I'm in Bath alone for the first time, and I think he was being a bit intimidated to go out and actually start taking and making some pictures. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, it is intimidating, isn't it? It's intimidating whether you've been doing it on the first day or all your life, I guess. You know, it's not a natural thing to do, to go and kind of take pictures of strangers without them noticing. So in that case, that sense, it would be intimidating. But you know, just because some people do street photography in a purely candid way, and doesn't mean that that's the way that you have to do it, Adam. You know, you can choose to do street portraits, or you can choose to, you know, use your camera on the table and just take long exposures of the people going by. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. But what you mustn't do is be scared of it, because then that will stop you enjoying it. So find a route that you enjoy.
Is street photography portrait work then? Can it be contrived? Does it, or does it have to be?
I think
hiding in the shadows.
Whatever you want to call it.
There's no rule.
No, there's no rule. No. You know, whatever you enjoy.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Adam. Here's one. Hi all, gear. I know I didn't have a name for this particular comment, but I thought it was good. It was in the Facebook group. Gear and opinion question for the trusty gang. Shooting a wedding for some friends later this year. Want to keep things minimal. 2 cameras, 2 lenses, mainly so I can keep an adult beverage in my camera bag. X100F with a conversion lens and an XE3. So it's running through several options in mind, but would love some group insight on what approach one might take with another lens to complement the X100F and a conversion lens. Well, I think straight away I would go for something like a 56mm to give me the 85mm length, because if he's got the X100F...
Is it the wide conversion or the tele conversion?
Well, if it's a wide conversion lens, it makes sense what I'm suggesting, but it doesn't so much if he's got the tele, does it?
No, exactly. It doesn't say, does it?
No. Well, let's assume that he's got an X100F just as it is, which is a 23mm lens, which is the equivalent of 35mm in full frame terms.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is 56mm. What was yours?
Yeah, 56. Always 56. Or the 50 f2 if if budget and size is a little bit of a consideration. Yeah, 50, 56. That kind of 70, 75, 85. Full frame focal range.
Morton Jensen, I'd love to hear a podcast with a food photographer in the coming year. David Loftus, for instance, doing food photography. You don't even have to get out of your house, but as in other types of photography, light is crucial and an interesting topic, as well as plating. How to shoot brown food and so on. Have you ever done any food photography?
No, never.
Not even a wedding?
No, not really. I mean, well, not with any artistic merit. What's the name of that fellow on Instagram? Dennis Stepensky. isn't it? Dennis the Menace. Dennis the Mensky.
Dennis the Prescott.
Oh, that's it. Dennis the Prescott.
That's the one you mean, isn't it?
Yeah, Dennis
McKinnon's friend.
Dennis the Prescott. Yeah. So no, I've never done it, but we should get somebody on. It's really interesting.
David would be great.
Some food is amazing. Some food photography is amazing.
Well, I've written to David, and we'll see the answers. Right, shall we do some questions?
Yes.
Shall I read them?
Yes.
It's only a few. Kevin, Tom Richardson. Hello, Neil and Kevin, rather. I have a question about pricing. Recently started doing my wedding photo business this year in the Northeast. Current rate is a rather modest $850. I set this price according to my relative experience level and number of jobs completed. What I've found, however, is that my business has performed better than I expected, which isn't a bad thing, and I'm almost fully booked for next year. I wish I'd started off at a higher price. You know, we had a question about this only last week or the week before. What is your advice for increasing your prices as your business grows, and how do you justify higher prices for clients? Should I jump straight into a higher bracket or increase slowly? And he also had a second part here. Do you guys ever do promotions, competitions or offers? Tom, Newcastle, upon time. And if that person scrapes their chair one more time?
I know, why can't people just get up properly?
Yeah, really. It's lazy. Are they big? Should I turn around and say it? Oh no, he's the guy with a t-shirt on that says Antisocial Club written on it. I'm not going to fight with him.
He did say Antisocial Club on his t-shirt. Okay, so first of all, I would say if this is the first year, £850 it's modest, but I don't think that's unreasonable, to be honest with you. I think that's a very good rate, and if you've managed to get fully booked based on 850 quid, then good for you. Absolutely good for you.
It's a daily rate commercial photographers will be happy with, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
850. Okay, so you've got to factor in the fact that there's edit time.
It's more than I started at.
Is it? What were you?
I think I did my very first one for 600.
6? Wow. Okay.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, the fact is, the way that I kind of dealt with this when this happened to me was I ended up shooting 69, 70 weddings.
Oh, you had a manic year, didn't you?
Yeah, so you had to, mind you've shot more than that.
I've done one year I did 86. That was just...
You have to be reasonable. It's not, I don't know what he means by fully booked. Fully booked might be 5 weddings, might be 10 weddings, might be 20 weddings. So let's just say it's 20 weddings. It doesn't mean that if you suddenly start charging 850 times 2 is 1700. It doesn't mean that you will shoot 10 weddings next year and get exactly the same net price.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that. So the way that I would typically approach it is by putting the increase in increments. So for next year, charge your first 5 weddings at your 850 price if you're happy with that. And once you hit 5, knock that up to 1,000. When you hit 10, knock it up to 1,250 perhaps. When you hit 15, knock it up to 1,500. When you hit 20...
So ramp it.
Yeah, ramp it.
Kevin Beersley, this one's been touched on the show a little bit. I'd be interested in your own personal take on this. Photo burnout, or more specifically, creative burnout. I feel like I've got to that stage. I've only been in the business nearly 5 years. I'm a pet and portrait photographer. What do you do to get the mojo back? We can't afford a photo trip like Patrick LaRocque's amazing trip across Canada that he talked about on one of the very, very early shows. I think it was about episode... Maybe it was 1 or 2.
Yeah, that was all the
right back, Kevin. Well done for listening that long.
Yeah.
Photo burnout. He's only been in 5 years.
Yeah. What do you do to get your mojo back? How would you do it? You've been at this game longer than.
Well, not that much longer than you, but I have to say I've almost had photo burnout on many occasions. Particularly, I say many, a handful. Particularly when I've done years of 80, 85, 86 weddings. They were really difficult, particularly when, my wife said to me at one stage, do you know, I appreciate what you do, but to be honest, I do feel a bit like a single parent. There was a bit of a slap around the face.
But honestly, this is, and we've mentioned this a few times. I think we had a message a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, about this, and been fully booked already for 2 years ahead, and people really do need to understand that it's much more than just keeping the prices down and getting as many bookings in as possible. You have to approach wedding photography as a proper business with an economic game plan. And it's not just good enough to go, I'm just going to charge 350 quid because 350 quid sounds like a good rate on a Saturday. I've got a day job and all that kind of stuff, so I'll do that because then the bookings will come in, rightly so, because you're all wonderful photographers, and then you'll get another one, then another one, and another one, and before you know it, you're going to be at 80 weddings, and that is not good for your personal.
But of course,
private life.
you could take down the amount of bookings, but you still might find your mojo has suffered.
Absolutely.
I think maybe they're the times where you think, right, okay, what am I doing? And is the project I'm working on at the moment actually something that's going to fund what I really want to do in the future? And I think sometimes that can give you an injection of energy and enthusiasm for what you're doing.
Do you know what I honestly think? Because it's happened to me, is the enthusiasm for taking pictures never goes away. The love of it, the want to make the pictures never goes away. But other things in your life are the things that get in the way, that stop you. And I don't mean like the wife or the husband or the kids or anything. It could be just the psychology of thinking you're not good enough. It could be the fact that you are just too busy in other stuff. It could be, the fact that your computer's not fast enough, or you suffer from gas and you don't think you've got the right camera, or the person down the road, the person down the road, the person down the road has got a brand new car, and you think, shit, why can't I get a brand new car? I need to work harder. And then the thought that you're not working hard enough makes you depressed, and then you lose the mojo. And so it might, the want to actually take the pictures probably doesn't go away, but the symptoms of what's causing that might be something different.
Do you think personal projects can help restore your mojo? I mean, that's essentially what Patrick Lerotte did. I mean, he went on this beautiful long car trip, but it was a personal project.
Yeah, I think personal projects can help, of course. But at the same time, there's still the things that can get in the way of taking a picture of your kids in the morning, the same things that can get in the way of doing personal projects. You have to do a personal project properly, you have to have an effervescence for it. You have to really, really commit to it and do it properly and get off your butt. And, a personal project of any kind of merit and length is a really hard piece of something to do, And I don't consider just kind of street photography as a personal project, or London by night or whatever. It should be something that at the end of the day you really want to show off in a book or an exhibition or something. It just don't lose the passion. Don't lose the passion.
Okay, James Lawrence last week was on the show, and he was talking about, he was part of the debate about the way that C of E vicars treat wedding photographers, and he was appropriate.
Not just C of E vicars, but priests. And
but I suppose C of E because he is a trainer for clergy, isn't he? So that's his knowledge base. And he wrote us a code of conduct, and he suggesting, would it be a good idea if photographers were to carry a code of conduct? The points he had on his code of conduct were: 1, I will respect the solemn nature of the service. 2, I'll not intrude in any aspect of the service. 3, I'll keep as quiet as possible. 4, I'll not use distracting flash. 5, I'll not block up the aisles with my camera gear. 6, I'll respect the building and not climb on pews. 7, I will aim to be hardly noticeable. 8, I'll be at the church in plenty of time to meet you and check through any final details before the service starts. And he's saying that if we had a code of conduct and we were able to send this to the vicar before a wedding, that they might look at this and think, okay, this person seems like an admirable professional. I'll not cause them any grief on the day. Would that be a good idea? Well, I'm not seeing your instant enthusiasm.
Firstly, my answer to that is I honestly hope that all wedding photographers abide to those points anyway. I think majority of them do. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because for a lot of people, church means nothing. For other people, it means more. And you have different opinions on what's right and what's wrong and all that kind of stuff. I believe that most people, regardless of faith and everything, would generally be obedient to most of those things, just from common sense. Who stands on the pews in a church? Why?
Apparently we do.
Honestly.
A lot.
Would you like it if some stranger came around your house and stood on your sofa?
Well, I think Sam would have something to say about that.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Don't go to the church of Sam and stand on her settee.
Don't go. I tell you what, if you go in with shoes on in our house, the amount of people that come round to,
I always do that.
No, I know, but you're okay because you come in the back door. We never let you through the front door. You can't go through the main entrance. You're not allowed. You have to come through where the staff come through, and so we can't allow you any access to somewhere. Because I tell you what, she's like a radar. She will see your boot mark on the first bit of wooden floorboard.
And what happens then?
Well, I'll get blamed initially. And then because
that man in reindeer again with his size 8 and 3/4.
Because I'm a good mate, I'll say this. You know, I'm so sorry. You know, I won't dob you in. But then she'll get out her tape measure, okay, and she'll say, "No, that's Kev's shoe, not yours." And you don't have that make of shoe. She's like a shoe detective. I'm telling you.
Right, Kev, let's close today's show then with, it's not Miki, it's Mishi.
Mishi Monk.
Mishi Monk. Talk about the moment that he did his prayer, because we weren't expecting it, were we?
What, in the civil ceremony?
Yeah.
It was hair spine tingling, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, if you have hair.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely beautiful. What a beautiful man he is.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of things I took away from him. And that was mostly his benevolent attitude to absolutely everything in life. And if more of us could be like that, it would be great. You know, such a calm, collected person. Very hungry man, though.
Yes, every time we saw him. Sorry, Mishi, about this, but because he did say he might listen. Every time we saw him near food, he was going back for another plateful, wasn't he? Mishi should be huge, but he's a proper slim Jim of a chap.
I'm guessing he doesn't get to eat too much over in his monastery in India. But no, what a beautiful man! Beautiful man.
It's now become a phrase between us that if I went back, I think, for a second croissant or something on the last day, and Kev said, "You're doing a Mishi." Anyway, the prayer. Okay, rather than us tell you what it's about, just a little succinct piece from Mishi to tell us what this prayer that he was about to read as the wedding reading was all about.
And so it's supposed to be like a very, it's like a lineage prayer that has a very good history, and it because it encompasses like the three most important things, which are the selflessness and the compassion for all beings, and so that's like embodied in a very like pithy, small, potent little prayer, which is why it's very often recited in the school of His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Thank you for listening to our Swiss Destination special. Next week, we're back in the studio. The main theme was by Blue Wednesday, supporting music from Art List. Send your questions to click@fujicast.co.uk, and the show was a Loading Zone production. Auf Wiedersehen, bis nächste Woche.